to the MyMoto channel. Welcome to the ZX7R. Anyone who knows me knows I love these bikes. If you haven't been to this channel before, please like, subscribe, definitely leave us a comment. Comments count for a lot for us. It's the interaction. We like the interaction in the community we're building. So, what I forgot to say about owning a classic superbike. So what are the factors of owning a classic superbike like the ZX7R or things like the Srad, or even older, Joe, going right back to old FZs and things like that? It's hugely tempting, Joe, especially in my generation. You look at the price of these. I mean, these were my pin-up bike from when I was at school. So of course I'm going to be tempted by it. The price of this one, I got this bike cheaper than what some people get insurance quotes for on things like BMW GS's and the like. In fact, at the time of making this video, you could pick up a ZX7R for as little as £1,995. Or you could get this immaculate standard CBR 900RR with just 6,757 miles on the clock for just 6,574. Sure, that sounds like a lot of money. But when you compare it to a new bike of the same price, all you would get is something like a new CBR 500R. The big difference between them is where the CBR 900RR will hold its value or potentially even go up in value. The CBR 500R, as soon as you ride that away from the forecourt, is going to depreciate massively in value. Some of the problems you get with a classic superbike, or any of the older bikes, things like the fuel, modern fuels that we have these days just aren't compatible with them, or not very compatible. The ethanol in the fuel rusts the inside of the tank, it rots any rubber seals, any hoses, because they're all made for pure petroleum, not anything with ethanol in, and ethanol and rubber do not go. So, what would tempt you to get something like one of these? I'll tell you what it is. There's a certain nostalgia about having an old superbike, especially if you're, again, of my generation. Another factor is, like, you can rock up at a bike event and you'll get people coming over who own £20,000 superbikes and come over to your bike and show such kind of love and respect for it. And you're getting all of that from £3,000 up to £6,000 for a really clean one. That's the temptation. Then you get onto like the feel of it. It doesn't have traction control. Some days when you go to start it, it will run really rough and awful, and other days it's silky smooth, and you just don't know what you're going to get really when you hit that start button. But that's character. That's what makes it what it is. It sounds a bit lumpy. You've got to be, there's no traction control, there's no ABS, there's a lot of maintenance involved. And that's the payoff. You get in an incredibly desirable bike, a great looking bike. You're getting it at a bargain price, but you need to maintain it. You've got to balance them carbs every few years. You've got to maybe change seals and expect things like brakes, calipers to need rebuilding. But if you're willing to go to those lengths, what a bike you get for the money. Joe, it's not just this bike, the Srads, Joe, the slab side Gixxers, the old YZF 750s, OW01 if you can get one, if you can afford one. I mean, they're not cheap, they're not in the same ballpark as this, but I bet it's just as much fun to ride. So, that's my roundup on owning a classic superbike. Would I recommend it? Yes. If you're doing a lot of commuting, I wouldn't. If you're doing long tours, again, probably better as a second bike. But what a bike. How much fun you can have on these. And for me, it just takes me back to Chris Walker backing it into the Melbourne loop, and it's just stuck in my memory. It's probably a BSB round that, but yeah, that's what got me with the ZXR. And I'd love to get my hands on a ZXR, don't get me wrong. I'd go even older. I'd get the old original ZXR, because I know what I'm getting into with them. I know the maintenance, I know the upkeep, I know the cost, but I also know what it feels like to ride. So hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoyed seeing the some of the on-bike footage and the sound of this thing. Until next time, ride safe.